Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another crypto video. And today we have a really special guest on the channel, namely George from CryptosRUs. So George, I want to dive right into the deep with a little question that most people on my channel are dying to hear about. And you most likely already can feel it coming. What are your thoughts on the Ripple lawsuit?
um, the Ripple lawsuit or the SEC lawsuit is not new. There's been other projects that went through it. EOS went through it, Tezos went through it, Kick went through it, or Kin, I should say, and they all ended up settling. So it's gonna be the same thing for Ripple. The caveat, I guess, the interesting thing about this case is they're not just going after the company as a whole or the project as a whole, but also the leaders, right? With Brad and Chris. So it's a little bit different, but what I'm hearing basically through media, of course, and mostly Ripple media, because they're painting a really good light. Some of these, some of these things that's been going on, like for example, Ripple asking the court or the judge not to share their personal finances or their personal cells, like that got blocked, right? So I think that's very positive.
I mean, the motion to seal from Ripple's side, they want to seal those things. Okay, yeah.
So I mean that really makes it hard for the SEC to prove what they're trying to prove, and it's weird too because they're ultimately trying to prove that Ripple sold XRP as a security. But I don't know why they're bringing Brad and Chris along too, because this wasn't the case with EOS or anyone else.
Yeah.
They were still going after the same thing. They had a legal security sale
offering. Yeah.
But I don't know what the difference. But anyways, long story short, I think it's going to end up the same way. They're going to settle.
Okay.
And that'll be it.
To be honest, I didn't expect that answer. I didn't expect you to actually bring in those other ones as well, like EOS and Tezos and Kin, because whenever you read the documents that Ripple has been posting, they keep differentiating between Kin and the offering basically in their plan, because it's literally a security, not necessarily a security sale, but like a crowdfunding or really a sale as a start. Same kind of way as if Ethereum crowdfunding 2014. That's kind of what they are trying to compare that with more so. And Ripple is just kind of inquiring for, okay, if we right now are considered to be a security right as we speak, and the time they filed the lawsuit, then specifically in the past we were as well. But then if we were, Ethereum was 100% certain one, because Vitalik has openly said before with the Joseph as well, like, hey, we're gonna split the coins up, we're gonna sell some for Bitcoin. And if XRP is considered a security, in my opinion, in that sense, where they did some crowdfunding still in the past, then Ethereum has to be one too. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's why, Ripple was trying to get clarification on how the SEC defined Ethereum's case, right? Because they already looked at Ethereum and said it's not a security, but they kind of, they didn't share why, what the criteria was, right? And that's something else that they won recently. They asked the court to be able to access that, and they won. So pretty soon, I'm
the 30th.
Sure they're preparing their defense, like looking at how they determined Ethereum was not a security, and then themselves, right? That'll help them get through this.
There's another issue with that one, and that is that in that hearing, I think it was the 6th of April, basically the court decided the SEC has to hand over the information on 19 custodians, and for a part also the internal memos within the SEC in regards to what their stances were on Ethereum, Bitcoin, and XRP. However, SEC, I believe 21st of April just now, actually filed a new letter saying, hey, we want to limit that, and we find that Ripple is harassing us because they're trying to overreach by asking us too much stuff. Then again comes the question, does the SEC, in my opinion, right, do they really want to make all their stuff? Are they really protecting the investors? Are they doing some crooked stuff? And should they make their Ethereum and Bitcoin decisions public? Like, from our perspective, do we want that? Or is that really like they should keep it whatever they want because they're the body to decide that? So we should just accept it and we'll see. But then again, Ripple, in my opinion, is going to be the first properly my bad, XRP is going to be the first properly regulated crypto if they actually go through the process, because it's the court instead of, behind closed doors, Bitcoin, Ethereum stuff. And the EOS stuff, I never, to be honest, hear anything about all that, because it's kind of in the past. And I would say it's a little bit different in terms of the internal lawsuit. And this one is so much bigger as well. You hear about this everywhere on the internet. So do we think we need the Ethereum documents and the Bitcoin one? And do you also think it could change if the outcome of XRP is negative, for example?
Oh yeah, the outcome is negative. That's gonna be huge. Because I think a lot of people like myself just look at these previous cases that it's just a slap in the wrist fine. Like I think both EOS and Tezos, I think they were fined I don't quote me. It's like 10 or $20 million.
It was not much.
We left compared to how much and compared to how much they raised, which was billions. I remember EOS was like 4 billion.
Yeah.
Like that's nothing, right? And not even a small fraction. True. So those past court cases were really just a joke, but at least it put projects on the radar, at least to warn them basically like, hey, we may come after you if you decide to do this. Maybe not now, but years down the road. So if this case with Ripple goes sour, that would really be bad. But I just don't see that, because the new appointing Gary Gensler. Yeah. Like he understands. He seems like he understands blockchain. He taught a course, right? So I think he's gonna be more favorable. But to answer your other question, should SEC open up, what made them determine Ethereum or Bitcoin not a security, like everything that they judged, internally? I actually think that's a good idea. I think they should open that up. I don't know why that would be a hidden secret. You know?
That's a good question.
So I think that should be public information.
I've thought about this for such a good while, and I just keep asking myself, why in the world would they want to keep those pieces of information private, specifically if they are the body within the United States who have to decide for us, even though all their opinions that they make public apparently don't matter, because everything they say publicly isn't something that can be factored in a lawsuit. Apparently, I noticed that. If they know from the inside out what classifies something as security and what not, if they want us to know, then why wouldn't you make it public? I really couldn't grasp that idea. And about the Gensler isn't really necessarily that bullish on XRP at all, nor Ethereum for that matter. He's mostly Bitcoin in whatever speech I watch, that he says that one is fine in the sense of security. And Ethereum, I think it's gonna really depend on the lawsuit as well, but that's again my opinion. Now, I just also saw this little tweet here. I'm gonna share my screen if I actually can do it here. Hopefully I can share my screen. Can you see it right now?
Yep.
Let me quickly see. Can you see my mouse moving, or are you seeing the Zoom screen? Okay.
Yeah, I can see the cursor.
So I saw this tweet just now from Alistair Milne. It says, rumor, Facebook will announce they hold Bitcoin on their books when they release their quarterly results after trading closes tomorrow. So, I mean, whenever I look at this, I'm like, yeah, BS. But is there any legitimacy to this claim, you think? He's a interesting guy.
It's a rumor. It's a rumor we all love to see. It makes sense for them because obviously they're trying to push their own crypto.
The Libra.
It makes sense that they want to get in because if you look at a lot of social media apps, especially ones from Asia, they all have they're all digital currency. Maybe not all full-blown crypto, but China's trying to change that. But, Facebook, I find they're in a position to really, get real traction if they do integrate, crypto trading or any of the services, right? So it makes sense that they would dive in first out of the big tech companies outside of Tesla. So, I mean, I love to see it happen.
But do you mean dive in as in go adopt Bitcoin first and then move on to their own crypto? Or because why would they want to ever go for a Bitcoin if they're having their own crypto set up?
Well, you can't. It's almost It's almost I don't know how to phrase it, but there's no crypto company I've seen will say that Bitcoin is stupid or it's old or it's dead. Yet we're gonna come out with our own crypto. That just doesn't happen. The two go hand in hand. So if you're gonna come out and do a full blown push on your own crypto or your own app that has crypto trading, it makes sense that you show to the world that, okay, we're embracing crypto. We're not afraid of it. We think this is the future. And the best way to start is by buying Bitcoin, right? So
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with you on that one. That's indeed very logical because I guess a Microsoft and I forgot the name of the CEO for a little second. Holy smokes, the founder, Bill Gates. There we go. Oh, goofed up for a little second. He has actually been publicly, same thing for Warren Buffett, negatively on crypto, positively on blockchain, I guess, for that matter, Bill Gates. But they also haven't issued any token or any plans for one. So I guess JP Morgan has sometimes announced maybe a specific banking type of coin, like the JP coin over there. But they're also now rumored, or actually maybe confirmed, to potentially look into Bitcoin custodying, at least, or Bitcoin stuff for their clients, right? So I guess you're right.
From a business perspective too, it's just smarter that way. I mean, most companies or institutions, when they first get in, it's always Bitcoin. So if you're going to offer services, it has to be catered to Bitcoin first, right? It just makes a lot of sense.
I'm going to agree with you once more. It's and the same thing for Elon Musk. He tweeted out really recently. It was even last night. Something really interesting though. He said this thing about Dave Portnoy. I think, have you already seen the tweet?
Yeah, I saw this.
Yeah. I mean, how could I have expected otherwise? Dave said, so I'm understanding this correctly. Elon buys Bitcoin, then he pumps it, it goes up, then he dumps it and makes a fortune. Listen, I own one Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is exactly who we thought it was, which is also debatable because we don't know who made it, but I guess just don't be the last one holding the bag. And Elon says, no, you don't. I have not sold any of my Bitcoin, which got my interest. I didn't even know he had Bitcoin on his own person.
Right.
That was interesting. And Tesla sold 10% of its holdings, essentially to prove liquidity of Bitcoin as an alternative to holding cash on the balance sheet. This part is really kind of a jab or kind of a starting point for other companies, but it also might just be a little bit of a brag for their earnings call, right? It might be like, no, Tesla is selling some because we're proving liquidity. We made a good choice. Do you think they're doing this right now to, prove a point to other companies like, hey, adopt crypto too, or just purely for the Tesla internals? And he just kind of defend themselves a little bit with this tweet.
A little bit of both. I think, first of all, it is a surprise when he said any of my Bitcoin, right? So there is a difference there because look at MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor, right? Most of us just equate Michael Saylor's Bitcoin as MicroStrategy's Bitcoin, but it's different. It is different. He has his own and MicroStrategy has its own. It's the same thing with Elon now with Tesla. I think that's interesting. I'm curious to see if he ever, releases details on how much he owns. But
I'm interested about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. But the second part of it is interesting. I see it both ways because I think a lot of us in the crypto world, especially Bitcoin guys, want to see Tesla be like MicroStrategy, that they just hodl
and buy more and buy more and buy more.
But when you're a company like Tesla, you're not a small company like MicroStrategy. You're one of the biggest companies on earth.
Yeah.
Okay? So it does make sense that yes, they would still hodl, but they would periodically sell off for liquidity reasons, right? It just makes sense that, and plus Tesla's balance sheet isn't the greatest. Even though their stock and market cap is so big,
it's not back.
They don't have a balance sheet like Apple or Microsoft or Amazon. They don't have like $200 billion of cash sitting there. So it's a little bit different for them. But I think this makes sense. I think it makes sense, although it disappoints a lot of Bitcoin guys. But as a company, it makes a whole lot of sense. And plus, they're 10%. It's like $200 and something million. It's still just a small amount. Now, had he said, 80%. Or they announced they sold 50%, they took their original investment out, I think that would be a different story, right? That they don't really view Bitcoin as something they want to hold. It's just something they're going to make money from. But taking a small amount out, I think that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing. I think it's logical that they took it out, but I still am not, as you also said as well, we can't be sure if this is a strategy for other companies to get in, or if it's just Elon having a bigger 400 IQ strategy in this sense here with his crazy plans with the Dogecoin as well. The Dogecoin thing, Safemoon thing, it's also really bothersome, by the way, to me at least. I get so many questions of people asking me, why don't you support Safemoon? Why don't you talk about Safemoon more? And I keep telling people, I think it might be a good chance to make some money quickly. I'm not going to deny that. Same thing for Doge. It's definitely possible. But I don't support the longer term vision in that sense. I don't see this crypto actually being made to make something better, like a lot of these newer decentralized platforms, let's call it, like maybe AIs and stuff like that. It's just purely meant to make money, and then we'll figure something out along the way. You might say XRP is made the same way. Well, we can debate about that. But specifically, Safemoon is purely made for monetary reasons, in my humble opinion. What do you think about Safemoon?
Yeah, Safemoon, just like all the other ones that came out recently, all these,
all the safe
Bonfire and all these guys.
Yeah.
The sole purpose is to try to make you money by holding it. That's the sole purpose, the only purpose. And the last project that had this kind of token economics was Hex. Richard Hart's Hex was the same way. He created a token that had no purpose other than for you to hold it and to get others to hold it, and then to try to make profit from, right?
With the certificate of deposit.
Yeah, and no one talks about it anymore. No one talks about Hex anymore. People jump from one project to another, and that's one of the biggest problems is when you have something hot that everyone FOMOs in, great, but it can't last. As soon as the next hot project comes, they all bail.
Yeah,
and they come crashing down. They have no loyalty. People are only in it for that quick buck, and that's it. And that's a problem for crypto. A lot of these projects that died off in crypto winter, they're the projects that they have no loyalty, and that's very important. That's one critical part that these new projects can never have. I'll defend Dogecoin because I've come to light with Dogecoin.
Okay.
Dogecoin was created to be a joke, but it was never created to be
monetary. For the money.
It wasn't something that it's not like the same promise now.
True.
It's not like, okay, let's all buy it. Let's never sell it. We have token burning. It's deflationary. You go get a dividend, and we're going to add all these features to help you make money just by holding it.
Yeah.
Dogecoin wasn't created with that premise. It was just created for fun, and look at the loyalty, right?
Yeah.
The people that have held over the years, regardless, it had no use for a very, very long time. But people believed in it, held it, maybe as a joke, maybe they forgot it.
Yeah.
But now you could see how serious people are for it to become a big cap, and not only a big cap, but
huge
30 or $40 billion market cap.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's enormous. That's way beyond just pump and dumps. That's way beyond just FOMO.
Yeah.
That shows you how many people that actually bought it and hold it, right? So that's amazing. And now you're seeing use cases where, you have, like Mark Cuban supporting with Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
Newegg opened it up, and I'm sure I've seen restaurants open up payments for Doge. Yeah. So I think it's going
to be useful at least. Yeah. It's also going to be a F asset on Flare, little Doge, I guess, use case part. And I would also say it's the use that was decided for it to be, right? It's basically a Litecoin, but then a little bit better, I would say, because the idea is, okay, this is a meme coin and you're buying it purely for that reason. Michael Arrington also said Doge will always have core supporters because they believe in this idea. They believe it will always have, it can never go to zero, at least. I firmly agree with that. But I get your stance on Doge. Let's talk about some, I guess, cryptos with different sorts of use, like, for example, VeChain. Because I've noticed you talk about VeChain here and there too. And I personally am a big fan of that myself. But I've only recently been getting into HBAR. And one of the things I keep seeing over on YouTube, I guess, in different places, is kind of the comparison between VeChain and HBAR. And some people just pointing out that, okay, even though the VeChain partnerships are huge, the ones from HBAR or Hedera Hashgraph are just a tit better, for example, or because it goes for Hashgraph instead of blockchain, it's just a little bit better. What do you think about that? Can these two be compared? And is one clearly a winner in your opinion?
Yes. I mean, Hedera, I learned a lot with my interview with Mance Harmon of Hedera recently.
Okay. Yeah.
There are a few fundamental differences. So first of all, Hedera Hashgraph, they're structured so that they're not open source project, which turns off a lot of companies, right? Like Hashgraph, from my understanding, one of the co-founders invented Hashgraph, and the reason why they named Hedera Hashgraph is for copyright reasons. So no one else can utilize Hashgraph because they couldn't actually copyright Hashgraph.
Okay.
So by doing that, they basically locked it in, right? So you don't hear about other projects really doing that. Other projects are like, hey, you could go ahead and fork it, but can you get the same kind of network effect as us, right? And it's, in most cases, it's no. Just like Bitcoin Cash doesn't have the network effect of Bitcoin, or you can argue some of the AMMs that have forked off, like the swaps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Hedera is also different because a lot of these companies that they partner up with are part of the console that's actually part owners of Hedera now.
Okay.
Like, I had no clue.
I didn't.
They have a LLC where if they onboard someone to be a console member to decide the direction of the project, they get added as a partner within the LLC. It's really wild. I haven't heard anyone else talk about that.
You mean just okay? So as you mean like an advisor?
Yeah. So these are like the fundamental difference. They're structured more like a real company, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And that turns some people off. And you know, I just got done talking about the console. The console right now is the console of, like, they're the ones making the decisions. Even Man said you have to have, you know, the console members, which is mostly Hedera's team members with a few console members of like all these other projects that they've onboarded, or projects that are working with them. But they're not really about making it total decentralized and having everyone vote on these complex decisions. Again, very different than, say, what Charles is trying to do with Cardano, or what Tezos is doing, or what a lot of these other projects doing. Yeah. So I know I kind of went on a tangent, but that's why I learned Hedera is quite different than even VeChain. VeChain is still, they're more open source, or actually not more, they are a lot more. And these partnerships that have formed, I think, is very different, very different. I mean, Hedera does have some big names, but they're not really utilizing HBAR yet. You know, they're kind of like still forming and getting their stuff ready.
They're not as proven, you mean? Maybe.
Yeah, the chain is not completely done, and they're still building and actively improving upon it and so forth. But this whole model of, you know, governance and stuff like that, they're still working on it. Yeah. Where VeChain is pretty much complete. Of course, they're looking at upgrades, but most of the companies that's working with VeChain is already utilizing VeChain in some aspect, either running on top of the VeThor chain, or they're using some app that's running on top of it. So they have a lot more traction at this point. And the reason why I like VeChain so much also is they have so many ties with Chinese-based companies, which is very, very hard to do in China, because these state-run companies, a lot of them, like their insurance company or tea company, or I don't even know.
Just some companies over there. Yeah.
There's so many, right? And to be involved with it, you have to have state ties. And that is very, very positive, because when China does go full blown with their crypto, with their digital yuan, and getting all their citizens to utilize, you know, the new crypto and wallet and everything else, you know what? It's going to be important, because I think they're going to open up crypto trading as well, which is now blocked and banned in China.
Yeah.
And when they open that up, of course, they're going to allow you to trade projects that's in-house, nationalized projects. I shouldn't say nationalized, it's a bad way to say it.
That's
but
not smart.
within China, you get my drift.
Yeah, we got it.
And I think that's going to be a big thing for VeChain, because then people will be able to buy VET and VThor, and I think that's going to be a big thing for them. So that's also how they're different from HBAR.
Yeah, that's you. Then on the specific VeChain use case, there's one part where they have, I'm not too knowledgeable about this one. They have a partnership with LVMH, so Louis Vuitton Wet Hennessy. And I just saw LVMH actually work with Aura. So there's it's also the what's his name now? Joe Lubin from Consensus and Ethereum. He's also working on the Aura, I believe, or at least through Consensus. Do you know anything about the Aura thing with LVMH? Have you looked into it?
Yeah. If you look at Sonny, the CEO of VeChain, he worked at Louis Vuitton before. I think that's how the connection formed. Yeah. But I'm not actually sure they're still actively working with VeChain, or maybe parts of them are. Yeah, so okay. I have heard of this new partnership, but I don't know the details of it.
Yeah.
So.
I just was a little bit skeptical. I thought maybe they had left VeChain for something better, but it could indeed be that they never had a really deep partnership. It's mostly just as a name thing because of the Sunny connection. Then again, I watched an episode, at least a part of it, from you on Crypto Banter, by the way, which was pretty damn funny. And I noticed you kind of called, or he kind of called you skeptical towards charts when the guy came in. Are you somebody who believes in like the short-term price predictions for like just crypto in general?
It's very hard. I understand that technical analysis and charting can basically help educate you, predict what may come due to past events. I totally get that. And a lot of traders in crypto utilize bots that follow the same kind of thought process, right? They'll look at moving averages or patterns or oversold, overbought situation and stuff like that. But crypto, we know, is very FOMO, FUD driven. Also, the liquidity is very small compared to, say, stock market. Yeah. And you have whales that is just buying and selling on the whim. Yeah. So it's not very accurate. In a normal, calm environment, I would say, yeah, you could kind of see when to buy and sell, when to buy or sell, but there's just times that you just cannot guess. Just like yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, when Bitcoin was showing a little weakness at night. Yep. Every TA guy out there said, watch out, it's going to go down to 45 or 43. And guess what? We didn't. Bitcoin hit about 47 and came up, and look at where it is now, like 54, 55, right? There's no exact science, because you know what? Some whales, maybe Asian whales or something, decided, woke up like, oh, Bitcoin is oversold and we're just go buy. And they buy, it's going to drive things up, right? You're right. So that's why I'm I don't really put all my money and faith.
Not all your faith into it. I feel you, indeed.
And Sheldon, I know he brings up Sheldon. I don't even know his relationship with Sheldon, but like, I don't know. I don't know how accurate he is, but one time when I was on the show, he was trying to chart Tornado Cash. Okay. And saying this is the buy zone. And I kind of laughed at that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tornado Cash. Oh.
Yeah. Like especially on a very small micro cap altcoin, you just don't know where the bottom is. Just because there's like a little down wick, that doesn't mean that that's the buy zone. And I bet if you look at it where it is now, it's much lower than that buy zone today.
Whenever they talk about such low cap coins, I always feel some either not necessarily paid promotion, because I don't know about that, but just I'm a little bit skeptical. If he talks about a cap below, let's say at least 500 mil. No, 500 million is even just low, right? But just a small cap, specifically saying this is really a buy now. I always, I'm always a little bit skeptical towards those, because I don't really like to talk about that. But I see what you mean. Yeah, would you say then that stocks are more predictable, for example, in S&P than crypto itself?
So yeah, it's definitely stocks. I think is a lot more predictable because, you know, with the regulatory bodies looking at what's going on, there's a lot less insider trading, manipulation, collusion, and liquidity is much higher too. You have hedge funds and hedge funds and hedge funds. One may be wanting to drive, you know, prices lower. One may be wanting to drive higher. You don't know what they're doing. With crypto, obviously with the liquidity being smaller and unregulated space, there is a lot of collusion, and I'm sure whales talk to each other. There are some that with so much liquidity could drive things up and down. So I think it's a lot more predictable with the stock market versus crypto.
That's kind of contradictory, I think, because you just said there's a lot of whales in the stock market trying to push it up and down. And in Bitcoin, yeah, there's just less or something like that. But there's also whales. I mean, if you think about it, in the stock market, the whales are, let's say 100 times as big anyway. So wouldn't they have kind of a similar type of power relatively then?
No,
they could also go for smaller stocks.
They're all in it for themselves.
Obviously.
Why? Right? So you can have 10 hedge funds that's liking, let's say, Tesla, and 20 that dislike it, but still they're not all go talk to each other and say, well, let's all short it at the same time. You know, that would be against the rules, right? And plus they're looking at their bottom line. They're trying to determine, because they're trying to get more investment dollars, right?
Yeah.
So they have to prove that they're better than everyone else. If they all had the same numbers, that would be weird.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay. So then in the same, it's not actually the same sense anymore, but in 2004, okay, this was about the XRP lawsuit ordeal. And whenever I think or talk about that, I usually always like to go about CBDCs then, because I think that's going to be one of the most interesting use cases for Ripple / XRP, but also just one topic that's going to be more and more important as time goes on. Little trivia, 2014 to 18, Ecuador had a retail CBDC. Didn't use blockchain, didn't actually last because of very low use. It was on the phones mostly. Then in, I think 2015, England first mentioned the CBDC, which actually they said was inspired by Bitcoin, which I thought was pretty interesting. But ECB, so Europe, they've said before, we never are thinking about a digital euro. Then later they said, well, we made a paper here, so I'm looking into it. So CBDCs are quite an elaborate thing just as a whole, but also to roll out, right? It's a really big process, specifically in the United States. It's a big country, a lot of people to adopt, a lot of people who are skeptical and who will never get the process. If we're talking about some retail CBDC, so which is gonna, which are gonna be affected by. Do you think it will actually get traction / adoption, or do you think it will always be fiat and the CBDC will really be in the background? Get me now?
Well, yeah. So the two are the same. CBDCs basically
it's legal tender.
Yeah, it's going to be digital fiat. I mean, that's all it is. It's going to be the digital dollar, digital euro, digital yuan. It's going to be the same thing. It's just that there's just going to be digital. Basically, everything's face down anyways. Very little people use cash. More and more people are using credit cards or Apple Pay or whatever to pay for things.
True.
Basically, as time goes on, they're just going to force, or these companies will just adopt a wallet, and then you get to use it to spend. They're just going to make it very, very convenient, and you won't even know the difference between a regular dollar and a digital dollar.
Yeah,
it's in your bank account. You get paid, and it's in your bank.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, how do you know it's a digital dollar or just a dollar that's been made digital? I mean, it's one and the same, right?
Yeah, I see. And then about Ripple specifically, have you read into the private ledger that they're building?
That relates to this?
Well, I mean, because they're going to have to be built somewhere. And my question, of course, which you can answer, I can answer, is what CBDC is going to be built on top of where, and what connections are going to be there in the middle. For example, what type of bridge will be built? Could it be an XRP? Is it going to be a, kind of a new modernized adaptation of a SWIFT system, or will they all have direct pairs? If we're going to talk about transferring CBDCs to each other, I'm thinking if Ripple were to actually get some traction in the CBD space, which the newest paper does kind of, hint that they are getting some, that could be really bullish on XP the crypto, my opinion. But do you think the private Ripple ledger for blockchains is actually, something interesting at all? Just, is it something cool?
Well,
stupid ass question on my part. Is it cool? I asked. No, I mean, just, is it something you think is interesting for, I guess let's call it XRP then, if they're making a private ledger, so they're connected to XRP already?
I didn't hear they're making a private ledger, but I think the overall premise of XRP is for this use case, right? It's created to be a bridge currency between as it stands right now, is supposed to be within financial institutions, right? So if JP Morgan wanted to settle with, I don't know, HSBC in two different countries, you would just utilize XRP to make that settlement, right? And that's up on top of the public ledger. But what we're seeing now is the banks are like, we're gonna come out with their own coin and do that. And if the governments are coming out with their CBDCs, I think they're gonna come out with their own chains. I don't think that they're going to rely on Ripple to create a public ledger for them. And I don't think that the US really wants people to get off the USD. So they're going to create a digital USD, and that'll still be the dominant currency or bridge currency that all currencies are valued against, or are settled against, I guess. So I don't think that's going to change.
I see what you mean. Because I was thinking, if they build everything, or at least a lot of CBDC on top of the private ledger that Ripple's be creating, well, I mean, logically then, because they're also involved with XRP, they're going to use the public ledger then, the XP ledger, to transfer, do that stuff with. But then again, I guess it's also kind of a wait and see, right? Because you don't really know exactly how the CBDC is going to roll out, what type of pairs they'll get, which country is going to be first. Is the US dollar going to be losing a lot of its dominance? We have the freaking US debt going up from 30 trillion this year to projected 50 trillion in 2025. I just saw that on the US world debt clock. It's something to think about, man. I think about this all the time. But I see here, I have one more little thing. It was, what do you think about the coming of Binance tokenized stocks? Literally, we saw, I think today or yesterday, that they were adding Microsoft and a couple other ones. But I was thinking the Synthetix token, or synths, those things, for those of you that do not know, synths are blockchain assets pegged to like real world assets like fiat or stocks and things. But do you think Synthetix, for example, that crypto is now obsolete because, well, what's the purpose? If you have,
I think it's brilliant that Binance did it. And I don't think they're the only ones doing it. I heard FTX does it too. It's a really good way for, this was always like the biggest use case for synthetic stocks, is that you're not limited to your location anymore. Because if you're overseas and you want to buy Microsoft or Amazon or Tesla, you're kind of screwed, because and it's the opposite too. Like, I mean, in the US, you want to buy some high flying stock from Asia, you can't. But now with the tokenized synthetic stock, that's a mouthful. Yes.
I like it.
But you can get exposure to it. But it's just, it works differently because stock markets close. Crypto does not. So what happens? Let's say you buy Tesla, TSLA. It goes from, let's say, 700 to 1,000 overnight on Binance. Next day, Tesla still opens up at 700. What happens to the $1,000, right?
But you can also trade it while the market is closed on Binance. I didn't know that. I thought it was closed as well when the market is closed.
I didn't know. I would figure that you would be able to trade it 24/7. I didn't think that they would close at the market time.
That would be, but what you're saying now, that would be really odd, because then you're going to have some really big discrepancies. Binance stock.
And tokens. I think, well, I have to do more research. But
me too. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because I kind of assumed that what Binance would do is they would look at the price difference, and they would basically take whatever liquidity that they have with this, and they would go use buy Tesla stock. And obviously, I don't think whatever they go buy is going to affect Tesla's price, but maybe one day it will.
Wait,
and it could actually cause Tesla to go up and match that price.
But why wouldn't it? I mean, if they're literally saying, okay, we're just backing it by the real stocks, if there's a lot of demand over on Binance, it would just adjust the normal price too, right? Because they're, of course, have to keep it equal. and they're just going to be buying the real Tesla stock, and they have to take over the price basically from the real stock. If it's going to be trading at a huge premium as a tokenized stock, it's going to be useless, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of free market, right? So if you're an average Joe, you want to buy TSA on Binance, would you really pay a premium over the real stock? The answer should be no.
No,
right?
definitely.
But who knows in the future what may happen? Maybe Binance becomes so big that so many people buy a synthetic TSLA that it would actually cause Tesla, the real stock, to go up, because the next morning Tesla would actually, Binance would actually have to buy the Tesla shares. Imagine that, that would be wild. Not saying that that's going to happen ever or anytime soon, but I think, that's something to think about, especially on the smaller ones, like the smaller stocks, like MicroStrategy, for example. That could definitely be possible. Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, not so much. MicroStrategy, with their market cap being relatively small, maybe
a little influence. But here it says on the Binance will monitor market demand and look to provide a channel to more stock tokens issued and sold by CME. Trading of stock tokens will follow traditional exchange hours and is not available for some residents, but it will follow traditional exchange hours. So,
okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
And just exclude everything else. Discount everything else I said.
It does. What you said makes a lot of sense, though, because all of a sudden on a crypto, you're gonna have to get some time restrictions going. That is interesting if you start to think about the future of it, right? That there's now already some new restrictions to crypto where it's like, you can only use this crypto or this token specifically some hours of the day. You can only have some real interaction with it for a couple of hours a day. It's odd. It's not something which we really seen before, I guess.
Yeah, because there's other smaller projects. I'm trying to think of one. I believe like Injective Protocol that does this too.
I'm not aware.
They allow you to create synthetic stock.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if those other projects that actually do have a synthetic stock actually closes. I honestly, I've never looked into it. I never thought of buying a synthetic stock, so, but it's just weird that you would limit trading on crypto, right? And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I agree with you. Yeah. And then I guess I'm going to have to ask you the most important question out of everything. And it's also my final question. Are you somewhat bullish on XRP? Are you maybe a hodler, or do you think, hodling would be an okay idea? No financial advice, obviously.
Yeah, I'm I have to rely on my past experience with XRP and what has happened in 2017. And I gotta say yes. And I do hold some. I do think it's worth holding on to, because just like Doge, it's a big cap for a reason. Not only a big cap, it's top 5 for a reason, right? There is a tremendous amount of people that's holding XRP. The XRP army is strong. And this SEC lawsuit, if it ends, if they settle, right, I think it's going to drive XRP price up tremendously. And, I think that despite like me thinking that, the original, I guess, vision for XRP can't be achieved, but there can be other innovations that come along the way. Like, for example, you brought up the private chain, which I had no clue.
It's not for XRP, it's for the CBDC only, right? It's no private XRP type of chain. It's only Ripple's.
Yeah, but like the Flare network, right? Yeah. Isn't that supposed to add on, basically be dApps, utilizing the XRP ledger, right?
True.
So there could be other innovations that come along, and there could be some kind of option, some kind of bridge currency. Who knows, right? So, I think the only thing that turned me off by XRP originally was this whole notion that it was going to go to $589 and it was just going to displace Swift altogether right away. So I think that's what really turned me off. But outside of, if you discount that, I think XRP is worth holding. And I think if you look at past history, like what happened in 2017, FOMO is real. It can drive XRP up you know, very, very, very
Yeah.
high within a short amount of time.
Certainly.
And with XRP Army growing stronger, yeah, I think it's a hold.
Yeah. All right. That's very cool. And I understand why you were, you know, turned off by the 589. It's obviously you were thinking of $10,000 per coin, and people coming with these 589. Yeah, that was really too low for you. I get it, man. I get it. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, but that's a fun thing about the community as well. The extreme price predictions, you know, the extreme hopium, I guess, to some degree, and the different theories, because the gematria, for example, gematria is so high within the community. And I personally don't know exactly what to say about it either, because I'm never going to say it's not possible, but I am going to say things are highly unlikely. And I would never encourage people to expect such things, you know, because if you're going to have the expectation of, no, that needs to happen, I want that to happen, you're going to only hate yourself if it doesn't even get remotely close in the next 10 years, right? But then again, I do understand how that turns people off. There's just some cult mindset of $600 for a crypto that's 10 cents. I get that. I definitely get that.
Yeah, here last point about that is, you know, some of these projects, they all started out with a promise, and whether or not they could achieve that, people believed in it and just held, right? And there's beauty in that, to have that kind of conviction, because a lot of those projects are the big caps of today, and they have gone up thousands to tens of thousands of percents higher because of that conviction, that hopium that they will fulfill their promise, that this project will go to the moon. And in a lot of cases they did. So it's the same thing with XRP. Who knows? Maybe it does hit $589 someday.
Ooh, okay.
Who knows?
Yeah, you're right about that. Hey, I'm going to completely agree with you on that note. Let's never say never. Specifically with Doge, was a big mistake if you never said it could, if people said it could never go to, for example, 1 cent or something like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was it for today's update, I think. Did you have anything to add? Did I forget anything here?
No, this was enlightening. I mean, most of the interviews I've done, it's just me blabbering on about what I know, but I think I learned a thing or two today, so I enjoyed it.
Good to hear. Ooh, okay. So yeah, that was CryptosRUs. I'll leave his channel link down below. Maybe also check out one of his mugs, the cool G on top. Can you show it once more? Can you buy those at your shop or something like that?
No, this is from
too bad, man. I thought you had your own mugs. Oh, I would have.
Yeah, I did, but it's not available anymore.
Oh, damn. All right. Sold out. It's too bad. You missed out. All right. But thank you all for watching this video. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Make sure you go check him out. Link is down below. And I'll see you guys again in another crypto update very soon.